Hold up, hold up. What I'm about to tell you is going to flip everything you thought you knew about Tupac Shakur's death completely upside down. We're talking about leaked FBI documents, secret escape plans, and Sean Diddy Combs potentially being played like a chess piece in the most elaborate con game hip-hop has ever seen. And with Diddy currently fighting for his life in federal court, the timing of these revelations couldn't be more explosive. Are you ready for this? Because once you hear what I'm about to break down, there's no going back to believing the official story. Picture this scenario for just a moment. What if the greatest rapper of all time didn't die on that Las Vegas Strip in 1996? What if instead he orchestrated the most brilliant escape in music history, leaving his biggest enemy holding the bag for decades? And what if that enemy was none other than Diddy himself, who's now watching his entire empire crumble under federal investigation, while potentially facing the return of a ghost he thought he'd buried 28 years ago? The streets are buzzing from Harlem to Havana, and conspiracy theorists who've been dismissed for nearly 3 decades might finally be getting their vindication. Here's where this story gets absolutely mind-blowing. According to these emerging theories that are gaining serious traction in underground hip-hop circles, we're not just dealing with another recycled conspiracy theory. We're talking about a calculated chess match that began during the heated East Coast versus West Coast feud of the 1990s. And incredibly, it might still be playing out today, with fresh evidence surfacing that could rewrite hip-hop history forever. Think about it from Tupac's perspective for a moment. The man was a strategic genius who studied Machiavelli religiously. He knew the streets were becoming too dangerous, he had enemies everywhere, and Diddy's name kept surfacing as the orchestrator behind multiple attempts on his life. So what does a master strategist do when he's cornered? He doesn't just run, he creates the ultimate illusion. According to this theory, Shakur didn't just fake his death, he turned his greatest enemy into the unwitting financier of his own escape plan. The entire narrative that we've accepted since September 1996 is now cracking under scrutiny, especially with Diddy's current legal nightmare painting a very different picture of the man behind Bad Boy Records. We're seeing RICO indictments, courtroom proceedings that read like something out of a crime thriller, and accusations that extend far beyond the original East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Federal prosecutors are painting a picture of secret flights, hush money operations, and a criminal network that used the music industry as cover for decades of illegal activities. And right in the middle of all this chaos, some very credible voices are suggesting that Diddy's biggest problem isn't the feds. It's the possibility that he only drove his greatest enemy underground instead of eliminating him.
Now let's dive deep into that infamous night in Las Vegas, September 7th, 1996. 4 shots fired on the Strip. Tupac allegedly dies 6 days later in the hospital. Case closed, right? Wrong. There are inconsistencies in this story that would make even the most skeptical detective raise an eyebrow. We're talking about autopsy photos that don't match, height and weight discrepancies that don't add up, and a cremation that happens so fast it would make your head spin. Here's what's really disturbing about the official records. The autopsy photo that was supposedly leaked shows a face that doesn't quite match Tupac's bone structure, skin tone that seems off, and measurements that are completely wrong. The official report lists him at 6 feet tall and 215 pounds, but anyone who knew Tupac personally will tell you he was closer to 5'10" and 170 pounds. Then there's the cremator, who mysteriously retired the very next day after receiving a substantial cash payment that nobody can account for. Are we really supposed to believe that's all just a coincidence? But wait, it gets even more suspicious when you start asking the questions that nobody wanted to answer. Back in 1996, where was the bulletproof vest that Tupac wore religiously? How did Suge Knight walk away with minimal injuries when 14 shots were allegedly fired into their vehicle? Why were there no tourist witnesses in what should have been a crowded Las Vegas strip right after a major Tyson fight? And here's the one that really gets me. Why did Afeni Shakur, Tupac's own mother, make that cryptic statement about her son choosing to leave quietly instead of demanding justice for his murder? This is where the Cuba connection comes into play, and honestly, it reads like something out of a spy thriller. Tupac's aunt, Asada Shakur, has been living in Cuba as a political refugee under Fidel Castro's protection since the 1980s. She's on the FBI's most wanted list, and Cuba has consistently refused to extradite her. Now here's where Michael Nice enters the picture. A man with deep Black Panther connections who claimed to have helped orchestrate Tupac's escape from that Las Vegas hospital. According to Nice's detailed account before his mysterious death, the plan was military precision, hospital switcheroo, private jet routing through Barbados to avoid direct U.S.-Cuba flight tracking, and a network of revolutionaries who'd been planning this extraction for months. Nice claimed he had photographic evidence, financial records, and even recordings of phone calls that would prove Tupac made it to Cuban soil alive. But here's the kicker. Nice died under suspicious circumstances just days before he was supposed to release this evidence to the public. Even with Nice gone, the speculation hasn't died down. It's actually intensified. There have been alleged sightings in Old Havana, though the evidence photos are always suspiciously blurry or taken from impossible angles. Suge Knight, speaking from his California prison cell, has made statements to TMZ that suggest he knows more than he's saying about whether Tupac is really dead. And here's what's really troubling about this whole situation. Despite multiple confessions over the years, despite witnesses, despite all the evidence that should have led to arrests, this case remains officially unsolved. The pattern is disturbing when you really examine it. Every suspect who's come forward with credible information either ends up dead, disappears, or suddenly goes silent. The few witnesses who were willing to talk in the immediate aftermath of the shooting have either recanted their statements or claim they can't remember key details. It's like someone has been systematically cleaning up loose ends for nearly 3 decades, and now, with Diddy's legal troubles reaching a crescendo, the timing feels too convenient to ignore. The man who was once considered hip-hop's golden boy, the untouchable mogul who turned Bad Boy Records into an empire, is now facing federal prosecutors who are painting him as the Jeffrey Epstein of rap music. FBI raids on his mansions, RICO cases with witnesses coming out of the woodwork, and mounting evidence of what appears to be a systematic criminal operation that used the music industry as a front. But here's where this theory gets really wild. What if Tupac's escape wasn't just about survival? What if it was the setup for the ultimate revenge plot against the man who allegedly tried to have him killed? Think about the poetic justice of it all. Tupac, who rapped extensively about Machiavelli's strategies, executing a long-term con that would eventually lead to the public unmasking of his nemesis. The timing is almost too perfect. Just as Diddy's legal walls are closing in, just as his empire is crumbling, rumors of Tupac's potential return are reaching fever pitch. There are whispers in the industry about mysterious financial drains from Diddy's companies over the years, money that disappeared into what some are calling a ghost label that might have been funding Tupac's secret operation. The theory goes that while Diddy was building his public empire, Tupac was building his revenge from the shadows, using Diddy's own success to finance his eventual comeback.